Rohit, you're watching Overdrive. Now, we are going to begin this week's episode by visiting a comparison that we haven't done for a long time. We are going to try and find out which is the better full-size luxury SUV. Will the stunning new BMW X5 exceed the standard set by the Audi Q7? Let's find out. This is the new BMW X5, the fourth generation model. Now, it's come at a time when its entire competition is aging. So does that mean that the X5 will have a clear edge over its rivals? Will it be the new king of the ring? Well, that's what we are here to find out. But the king of the ring currently is the Mercedes-Benz GLE, and that's clearly not here. That's because the car's aging a little too much. It's a little too long in the tooth. And by the time you're watching this review, probably it's been replaced by a new GLE altogether. So that leaves the X5 to compete with this, the Audi Q7, one of the best all-rounders in the segment. But the X5 is all new, so will it have a clear run to victory, or will the Q7 bounce back and prove that age is just a number? Let's find out. The new BMW X5 has now grown larger than its predecessor and is both taller and wider than the Q7. But with a longer than 5 meter length, the Audi Q7 easily looks the more full-size luxury SUV. Of course, the length does attract a bit of criticism, with some calling it very station wagon-like compared to the older behemoth. But there's a new Q7 coming this year end, and that should fix it with its sportier styling and aggression. But for now, it's the BMW X5 that looks the sportiest in the class, more up-to-date with its complex lighting patterns and laser headlights, and also more imposing with that controversially large but good-looking grille. The X5's cabin has a welcoming vibe to it, with its plush leather, open-pore wood, and the much-talked-about crystal work on the gear selector. The Rolls-Royce learnings are evident in here. The Audi Q7 pales in comparison with its simple appointments and scarce infotainment. Which is the better cabin of the two is more of a personal choice, a personal preference. The X5, it's plush with all its materials, the open-pore wood. It really feels nice. It is every bit as new age as you would expect it to be. Two big digital screens, everything angled towards the driver in trademark BMW fashion. It is a driver-centric cockpit. And you also have multiple inputs for the infotainment. You have the old school rotary dial. You can also have handwriting recognition wherever you have text input, like maybe sending a message or satellite navigation. And you also have touch screen. So everything, like I said, is as new age as you expect it to be. And what is also nice is some of the unusual touch points are also made in soft touch materials. That's premium stuff. But when it comes to fit and finish, the Q7 has a slight bit of an edge over the X5. Not that the X5 doesn't feel premium, but this one feels a notch better. The only thing going against it is that the layout, it feels a little old school now. But you will like that infotainment, the way it slides out, that cool party trick still looks cool. I like the instrumentation as well. It is the full digital instrumentation, the one that Audi likes to call the virtual cockpit. Now, it's not as crisp as what you have in the BMW X5, but then the layout is very easy to read. It doesn't feel like a sensory overload that happens in the X5. The Q7 has a better audio unit of the two cars, but the BMW X5's superb ambient lighting package makes the cabin feel more loungy in comparison. The new Q7 will be a better match for that, and will also have a two-screen layout on the center console for all the infotainment and AC controls. Though I'm not a big fan of that layout, as it demands attention away from the road. In comparison, the simple controls of the current Q7 are far more intuitive. I like the X5's controls too, and the gesture controls are slowly growing on me. The larger dimensions of the BMW X5 have led to the cabin being more spacious than ever. But the Q7 feels and is a lot roomier, more comfortable, and yet it manages to pack in a third row of seats. It also has a wider aperture for its panoramic sunroof, which makes the cabin feel airier. Despite all of these differences, both these cabins tie on the points, and that is because the X5 makes up for the Q7's superior space with its better kit. We are increasingly hearing that Audi might move away from the diesel engines for the Indian market. But as of now, diesel still remains the popular choice for the Q7 and its competition. The cars seen here are the range-topping Q7 and X5 diesel variants, both of which use 6-cylinder 3-liter engines.
The 3-liter V6 engine of the Q7, it's a class act. The refinement levels are at a different level altogether. When you compare it to the X5, when you drive it back to back with the X5, it just highlights its superiority and how. The X5, it has those pedal vibrations at lower RPMs. Of course, they smoothen out as the turbo spools up, as the revs rise. But this one is refined from the word go. It's creamy, smooth. It just feels at a different level, like I said. It justifies the price that you've paid for this car. It makes it feel like a proper luxury car. The engine of the Q7 also feels more tractable, also feels more eager, despite its lower power output.
The X5 doesn't feel as linear and is jerky in bumper-to-bumper traffic, as it prefers to lunge forward instead of creeping forward. The dull throttle response of the Eco mode is a quick fix to smoothen the acceleration at city speeds, but I expected better from a luxury SUV. It is certainly the more eager engine of the two though, if that is what you're looking for.
The engine of the BMW X5 will certainly tickle the driving enthusiast in you. It starts off with a typical silent idle that's typical to most German luxury cars, but then it starts filling up the cabin with a synthesized sound of a 6-cylinder engine. Of course, it is not real, but then it still gets you excited behind the wheel, and that's not a bad way to start a journey.
The X5 makes quick progress, even to speeds close to 200 kilometers an hour, and on the way there, it will hit the ton in 6.4 seconds. The Q7 is almost a second slower to the ton and slower still in its in-gear acceleration, but its smoother power delivery makes for a more likable driving experience.
You sit relatively lower in the Q7. Of course, you have the powered adjustment for the seats to get your desired height, but despite that, this is a low and a long car, and it makes its length evident when you're tackling bends. The steering of the Q7 in typical Audi manner is light, convenient and precise when you're driving at city speeds, but around the highways, around the twisties, it weighs up but feels over-assisted, and that may not be to everyone's liking.
But you will be surprised to know that the steering in the Q7 weighs up better than the steering in the X5.
When it comes to tackling the bends, the X5 also offers the best cornering visibility, and that's not only because you sit tall as compared to the Q7, but also because the contours on the bonnet or the slim profile of the dashboard, the driver-centric profile of the cockpit, it all gives you a clear view of the road, a commanding view of the road as you would expect from an SUV, and clear cornering visibility as you would expect from an enthusiast car.
But this isn't as sharp a cornering machine as you would expect from a car that wears the Bavarian roundel. Or maybe, like most buyers of these SUVs, you don't expect sharp dynamics or driving dynamism from these cars at all. The new X5 is a shining example of what consumers really want: comfort over everything else.
When you hit the twisties and drive the Q7 and the BMW X5 back to back, you realize that this BMW has been benchmarked against Audi's flagship SUV. It employs air suspension to that effect and aims to be as cushy as the competition, but in turn it's also got quite soft for a BMW. Of course, you have the sport mode, which will stiffen things up and separate the BMW from the rest. It will also handling compared to the Audi Q7, but then this is not the sharpest BMW SUV out there.
And maybe the new BMW X5 doesn't even want to be the sharpest SUV in the portfolio. The X5 going soft in everything that it does is a shining example of the fact that buyers of this segment want comfort and convenience over sharp dynamics and driving fun. But unfortunately, the X5 doesn't achieve that balance. It feels squishy around bends but thuds over sharp undulations. It rides well only when the road surface isn't too poor. The Q7 on the other hand has a more comforting ride, a silent suspension and a level of suppleness that you expect from a crore rupee SUV. And then the other things start adding up, like the engine refinement, the space and its price, which adds tremendous value to the package. Being a new generation car, the new BMW X5 comes very close to the Q7 on the points table, but the Audi Q7 is still the better car, and its upcoming update will only make it stronger. Well, that was a very